Let's get him getting pauldrons. Good pauldrons, you know. That's some good shit done. Look at how much of this is the gold grind. You know, it's the gold grind. How much gold can you get? This whole deal. Come back here. I really don't like having to sign into this thing over and over again. I'm gonna turn it off. So we go. Yeah, my shit's live. There you go. Just make sure, right? I like that the tablet makes it so that I don't have to worry. Very good. I don't know what the fuck that was. I don't know why it shut down, but whatever. Western WW. Wow, he went to WW. Yeah, but I mean, yeah. Before I leave, I guess. Yeah. No pauldron. How are we doing on pauldrons here? We got 12 and 8, 12 and 7. See, it's about equal. It's annoying. I am tempted to make a pretty good lunch, you know, but I'm not hungry yet. I do, however, want, yeah. Much better. So, yeah, it's a long walk for just one of those. What about, I don't know that you gotta get this yet. No, new mission in 40 seconds. Okay. I don't like that system. It's annoying. Just give me ones that I don't want to. Let me do what I'm doing, man. Manaroth has a lot of stuff. Namerton. 5 minutes. Procure extraction fluid. No corruption breach. Damn it. Fine. Where's the other one? Oh. I mean, it's not amazingly bad. It's just, yeah, go do this one. I'm alright with Cool Vista. It's fine. It's not my favorite. Oh. Yeah, while I'm here, I gotta switch the PvP on, because I can't believe he was married to Zoe Deschanel. That's just insane to me. was very odd. I look up and I'm suddenly dead. Okay. Just gonna accept it and not get mad. Just be like, okay, I don't know why that happened, but yeah, alright. Yeah, you need to be that way? You need to be that way? Alright. You can be that way. Just kill me instantly, sure. How was that happening? No. Deja vu. Oh, what? Whoa, whoa, whoa. Ah. Ouch. Oh, God. How'd you miss all of that? Why did you miss? Oh, God. What? Oh, okay. Can't move. Okay, I don't know. I'm gonna die now. I'm gonna die now. Yeah, I'm gonna die now. Go away, you. Fucking annoying. Fucking annoying. What? How did that happen? Fuck off. Oh, wait. Alright. Must you despawn right in the middle of when I'm popping you. So, yeah, but how do you even get up here? I don't know how you get up there. How do you even get? That must be it over there. That is over there. Okay, this one repopped. Oh, I forgot. Oops. This song, yeah. Oh yeah. It's true. This shit's so good. Funny, he said it perfectly. I was thinking that this was a lot like a Phil Collins song, right? Yeah. Wait, why am I hearing stuff? That was good. Bam, 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 bam. It's funny. Now I want to watch something real on YouTube while I eat. Let's go look at explore. Yeah, let's watch this. Yeah.
Things about Star Wars, so everyone's equally upset. Here we go. Star Wars, an epic space opera about how one family seemingly controlled the entire galaxy, how you can defeat the big bad guy and then have them somehow return, and how just smashing a ship into another ship at light speed was apparently always an option, but nobody thought to do it. Star Wars is without a doubt a cultural institution, but it's not too controversial to say it's been going downhill for some years. The TV shows haven't been great, the great sounding games got cancelled, and the games we did get didn't really fill us with feelings of pride and accomplishment. But what if we go back, before Baby Yoda, before Darth Jar Jar, before midichlorians, 3,500 years before the events of the films, to the Old Republic? In this video, I'm going to smuggle my way out of the rebellion and then go undercover as an agent of the Empire. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. I'm Josh Hayes, and this is Worst MMO Ever, a show where I play every MMO I can find in an attempt to find the worst. Drop a like on the video or sub to the channel for more MMO stuff. Ring the bell for all the future notifications. As usual, a massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. More information on how you can support at the end. For now, let's begin. There are certain narrative setups which just lend themselves to adventure. Pirates sailing the seas, archaeologists exploring tombs, spaceships seeking out new worlds and new civilizations. The vast openness of the possible. Star Wars is a perfect foundation for an MMORPG. Endless planets, races, and stories. The only pitfall they needed to avoid was artificially shrinking the size of their universe by making everything revolve around a small, single, powerful family, and thankfully they were smart enough to set this game thousands of years before the film. So let's look at the strongest element of the Old Republic first. It's a BioWare game. The absolute titans behind Baldur's Gate, Neverwinter Nights, Mass Effect, Dragon Age, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic. These guys know a thing or two about narrative design. Story-driven, choice-filled, companion-heavy RPG games. But how well does that translate to the MMO space? Let's find out. First off, pick a side, Galactic or Sith. I'm going to choose both, but I'll start, nice and simple, with Galactic. Now to choose a class, or origin. Each side has four main classes. The Republic get troopers, Jedi consulars, smugglers, and Jedi knights, and the Sith get bounty hunters, inquisitors, Imperial agents, and Sith warriors. And each of these classes has further specializations within it. The trooper can specialize into the tanky vanguard or the damage healer commander. The Sith inquisitor can go for lightning damage healing combo sorcerer or tanky assassin. So there's lots of choice within playstyles. And class choice matters a lot, because the Old Republic is, at its core, a story-driven game, and each class gets a totally different main storyline. Indeed, completing all 8 main storylines is needed to unlock legendary status and earn a special in-game portrait. So this is an MMO that is encouraging you to play every class. It might actually help to not think of the Old Republic as a traditional MMO with a traditional open world. It's very much a story game with multiplayer elements. It's an online RPG with other people. And as in most BioWare RPGs, you'll be making dialogue decisions that affect the progress of that story or that specific event. We'll see how these matter later. For me, Star Wars means cheesy pulp adventure. So, on the Republic side, I'm going with the smuggler and giving myself a cracking mustache. Now onto the text crawl. I must say they have nailed the look and sound of Star Wars. The music throughout is absolutely stellar. The intro movie plays, we land on planet, people start talking, and it's fully voiced. In fact, the voice cast for the Old Republic is pretty damn respectable. A quick glance on IMDb shows that you've got Nolan North as the Jedi Consulate, Nolan North as Overseer Markham, Nolan North as Commander Hunt, Nolan North as Lord Mador Risk, Nolan North as Sergeant Blythe, Nolan North as the shuttle navigation computer, and Nolan North as Zentil. And then you've got Solid Snake voicing the Jedi Knight. My main issue with cutscenes is subtitles aren't on by default, and as someone who plays on relatively low volume, I'd appreciate if they were. In most conversations you'll have choices, usually 3 options, and while you'll always push the main story forward no matter what you choose, your choices can raise or lower your approval rating with the good side, the bad side, or with your active companion. They can approve or disapprove of what you do. Honestly, I just choose whatever seems funny. Being a BioWare game, however, the choices don't always relate to the line you'll say. You could click the I somewhat disagree option to discover this actually means you'll reply with, I'm going to kill your entire family and then make you watch. So we're a smuggler. There's some valuable stuff in our ship and some guy called Scarlet needs us to do something. Unfortunately, we can't leave the planet due to the local separatists taking over some anti-air guns. So we need to clear them out before it's safe to take off. I like this. It's a decent personal motivation to go and do a quest. And now the game and the issues begin. Tab target combat, skills bound to 1 to 9, left click spins the camera independent of character facing, right click locks it to the camera, pretty standard stuff so far. But text dump tutorials. So many text dump tutorials. Everything, every system, not explained in game, not experienced through a designed encounter, not introduced slowly and played through before being enhanced by the next system. Every single system in the Old Republic, and there are so many systems, is explained entirely through giant text dump tutorials. I think it's fair to say that Star Wars The Old Republic is an absolutely excellent game with a terrible onboarding process. Playing it as a new player is like learning to drive a spaceship by being given the spaceship and then handed the owner's manual, but you've never driven a spaceship before. It truly feels like they've made an excellent MMORPG for people who already know exactly how an MMORPG works, and then at the last minute remembered, maybe some of our players will be brand new to MMOs. Should we design an intro section, or an in-game tutorial, which introduces and then tests their understanding of the core gameplay or class systems? And the answer was no, just give them a massive manual and let them memorize it. The tutorials aren't integrated into the flow of gameplay, and this is one of the weakest aspects of the opening section. You will discover that your character can do 10, 20 or 30 things, but they'll all be told to you. You won't actually need to do 10, 20 or 30 things. I spoke to a couple of players, and one of the most commonly repeated stances was, Star Wars The Old Republic is probably one of the only MMOs you can play without understanding half the systems, because the game makes no effort to put you in any position where you actually need to use them. As far as navigation goes, you have a local area map, which can be expanded into a general zone map, which is very nicely laid out, but we will find issues with this later. And the in-game mail system throws me some free gifts, which, while nice, means my inventory is already a third full, and I've done nothing. The main storyline is a purple triangle symbol, side quests are yellow triangle symbols, and even shorter
They always
side
do this
quests
shit.
do
It's
still
so
have
weird.
fully voiced cutscenes.
Stand by. HQ, this is forward recon. Do you copy? HQ. Relax. Thought I got him. Look like you know your way around the blaster. Wanna be a hero?
Sure.
What's a hero made? More than me, citizen. That sounds fair, then listen up.
You'll notice there's a relatively inconspicuous question mark symbol to the bottom center of the screen. That is your tutorial warning. Whenever you are exposed to a new system, you are expected to click that tutorial and read about the system before you rush into it. Or you can just run in and hope for the best. Now, combat isn't terrible. You cycle through your abilities. Your basic ability is essentially the auto attack, but you still need to press it, and if you have energy, you can use your skills. Using skills takes some power, which refills slowly while in combat and quickly after combat. As a smuggler, some of my skills need me to crouch down behind cover and then charge up some blaster shots, and I would appreciate that showing me where cover is. You can use medipacks to recover health while in combat, although they aren't great, and while out of combat you have a recovery skill which will play a short, class-specific animation and fully heal you. The smuggler flips a coin into the air and then shoots it out of the air. Think of combat as small, self-contained encounters, and after you've won, you can recover to full before the next encounter. The difficulty is in the encounter itself, not in constant slog battles and long-term health management. Pretty much exactly like the earlier Dragon Age games. Run around, kill some guards, destroy some computers, and then somebody else does the same thing, and oh, right, okay, the interactable objects needed for quests are in a shared overworld, not instanced for each player. Meaning if several hundred people were doing this quest at the same time, there would be quite the queue of people waiting for objects to respawn. Push on and enter a smuggler phase. So let's talk about story-locked areas. Both the central hub areas and the general area on any given planet are multiplayer. You'll see other people walking around, but as you progress your main story, you'll enter story phases, shown by these big green planes that you walk through. Buildings, rooms, or even whole sections which need to be presented in a specific way at a specific moment to make sense to your class's story. When you enter a story phase, only one of each individual class can be in the same phase. So if you're a smuggler and you party up with your friend who's a Jedi, you can both enter and progress. But two smugglers can't. Or more accurately, they can, but only the one gets to progress the story in a specific instance, and you
Why would they do that?
Basically, if you want to adventure through the story in real time,
Gotta pick different classes.
The story phase basically means you can't just take a massive party with you and stomp through the combat encounters. It keeps it
Why?
balanced.
Is the question why? Why?
The role play of your character, not just mechanically beating the encounter. The best part about the story phase is I'm only now realizing my character looks like an extra from a porn parody of Top Gun. We have a shootout in a hangar, the music continues to be absolutely goddamn amazing, and then I discover there's area loot, which makes things a lot quicker. Kill many enemies, loot one, it shows you everything. And now a problem. While clearing out the gun turrets, our shit has been stolen, and we're told to speak to Vidu in Ord Mantell to go and get it back. Oh cool, there's also first person mode. But don't use this is bad. Now we get told about taxis, shown on the map by two arrow icons. Taxis link together all major settlements, and if you are required to take a taxi to either a quest or main story destination, it will be highlighted in green or purple. You can't control the taxi, but you do get to admire the environments, which are, for the most part, gorgeous. More problems. Not only has Skavek, the guy we trusted, nicked our ship, turns out there were some valuable blasters on the ship. Blasters belonging to a guy called the Butcher. So unless we get them back, we're in big trouble. The story is delivered through a massive narrative dump while everyone stands around and acts glib, but ultimately it boils down to go and shoot some separatists. Here's an annoying issue with the map. On the left-hand side, you'll see a legend of icons, and you can click them to show them, but in a really odd touch, you don't toggle each one on and off individually, you can only have one selected. So I can't see both taxis and shops. I can see one or the other. Toggling one on toggles the others off. Why? If I
Why?
wanted to tick
Yeah,
every box to make my map look like some open-world Ubisoft monstrosity, I should be able to. Fight for a warehouse with some more shooting. Honestly, it does feel very, very much like playing Dragon Age. The tight movement, the good positioning, enemies having the same charge-up attacks and animations as you. Small damage numbers, meaning it's not overwhelming. Skills actually feel important. Moment-to-moment gameplay is solid. There is a quality foundation here. All I've found to complain about so far is the unfriendly, flaky onboarding process, the excessive tutorial text dumps, and some very minor map mechanics. There's nothing wrong with the gameplay. The problem exists with the way the player is introduced to the gameplay. Get some better items. A green arrow on the inventory screen showing if an item is just straight better than what you're currently wearing, with lots of stats. None of them mentioned so far, and I seem to be doing fine.
Man, look at all this loot.
I hope I keep doing okay. Ah yes, the flirt chat option. Literally always the correct option. It's jarring to end the combo saying farewell, and then she just spams it. I'm thinking making this an MMO actually took development time away from making the best Star Wars story game, and you end up with weak aspects of story and weak aspects of MMO blending into each other. The journey to recover our ship continues. We break into a security facility following the trail of breadcrumbs to find Skavek, and hang on, can other players appear in story cutscenes? Who is this random guy? Combat is starting to get a little bit tougher. Enemies are actually throwing grenades, but it is still a mostly just a time sink as I walk from A to B, disable some security stations, and then enjoy the violent camera judder as I walk down some stairs. It's always very impressive when each step is modelled in a game, but having the camera drop or jerk from step to step isn't the best visual journey for the player. Also, I seem to be able to hear an extra blaster shot every time combat is finished. Listen, stuff is dead, and then there's always one extra blaster shot sound effect. On watching this back during editing, I realise it's not just a sound effect, it's a muzzle flash as well. Watch the blaster on my hip. And now a mini-boss with a cutscene and everything, properly hyping it up. Sure,
It's funny to hunt for the jank, and like, cause you can find it. It's there, like bad jank.
This individual's armaments were recently used in combat, initiating defense mode.
You killed those men, didn't you? Force it, do your thing.
Combat protocols activated.
Oh. Yeah, but I want this. You fight the mobs. I'll take the star medal.
Honestly, I expected more from Firefox with a cutscene introduction. Escape the compound and discover my AOE blaster attack is actually really, really good. Okay, this is my go-to
I'm not
plan
gonna
to
steal
basically
his star
just
medal, I'm not
now
like
on,
that.
hide behind my little wall and just blast everything. Get back to the smuggler base, find a girl being bullied, so do what any upstanding citizen would do and flirt with her, then kill everyone else, and then go and find her to accept her thanks, and she's gone. The minimap shows she's here, so she is respawned. Okay, this is some reasons. The Old Republic is a good foundation with a lot of smaller bugs. NPCs sometimes don't spawn or despawn. Sometimes you'll fall through the floor or get stuck. Graphical issues like sometimes you don't draw your blasters and they shoot at the floor as they remain on your hips. Walking animations where after you leave the taxi, your arms stay down by your side. They're not game breaking, but they are frequent. Apart from this non-spawning quest NPC, which actually is game breaking and I do need to restart the game to get her to come back. This young attractive lady gladly flirts back with me, and this means she is definitely going to stab me in the back later, probably soon. Don't be shocked when her traitor twist is revealed. Corso, our our trusty sidekick gives us a cool blaster, and our hunt for Sarek continues. Honestly, I just want my shit back. I want to be a smuggler. Why are you making me play amateur detective? This is not what I signed up for. Everyone tells me the smuggler storyline is nowhere near as good as the Imperial agent, so don't worry, I will get around to the Imperial agent later, and believe me when I say it is not only one of the best MMO storylines I've ever played, it's one of the best RPG storylines in any Star Wars game. Now a new system, item modifications. Right-click on an item, like this blaster, to see what modifications you can add. New barrels, new power crystals. Again, this is another deep system, not explained through gameplay, but just through text. And everyone tells me that modifications used to be a system that required you to go to a specific console and access it from there, but now you can just do it from anywhere, so it's kind of taken away the mystique of it and replaced it with just confusing, overwhelming whenever you want. So let's just nail down my main issue with the Old Republic. There is no question that this is a good game with a lot of deep, complex systems and a great variety of player choice. My issue is only how those systems are introduced to the player, or more correctly, how they are not really introduced to the player. The opening section of a game should introduce a mechanic, such as movement, shooting, interacting with an NPC or a shop or an object, and then give the player a chance to use that, or even require them to use that to progress, thus integrating that mechanic into early game progression. If you have jumping, make me jump up something. If you have cover during combat, make me use it to avoid a powerful attack early on. If you have a modification system, have an enemy be immune to damage until I have put a certain mod into my gun that I have to find by jumping up something and then taking cover. See how you combine these things together. Don't set systems to me by having massive blocks of text. Use in-game set pieces to teach me what to do. The Old Republic has so much within it that a new player will either miss because they don't need to do it, or feel overwhelmed by it because when they do try to learn it, the only effective way to really learn it is read a massive block of it. Things about Star Wars, so everyone's equally upset. Here we go. Star Wars, the epic space opera about how one family seemingly controlled the... Watching this back during editing, I realize it's not just a sound effect, it's a muzzle, integrating that mechanic into...
Ship. I don't know where he went. You guess who does? Skavik has a girl at Fort Garnet named Cyrena.
Oh no, Cyrene's, the girl who flirted with me, is actually a spy for Skavek. Who could have seen that coming? So we kill some more people and get back to finding our ship. Here's why the smuggler opening sucks. You don't have any emotional connection as a player to your ship. You're just told you need to get it, and then you have a rare blaster on it, and then you're told you can help. None of the events of this opening have happened because of my choices. This is entirely reactive. I'm not smuggling anything. I'm going from place to place because other people have told me to go there. It's not even a hidden tutorial. It's basically walking around in signals from NPC to NPC, occasionally killing things, and eventually you might be able to play the class you signed up to play. Confront Cyrene and ask why she's helping Skavek. Get fed up of being so nice, so I shoot her in the head, which Corso disagrees with, but I've given up caring what Corso thinks. I do appreciate how the game does give you the ability to kill NPCs in cutscenes because you just want to do that. In fact, you can kill NPCs as an Imperial agent, and your companion actively encourages you to do it. We then get even more text systems dumped onto us. Will these text dumps be immediately useful? No, of course they won't, but it has been a while since the game threw some text at us, and I wanted to check we still knew how to read. I do, however, get told about flashpoints, and here begins the process of completely messing up the narrative flow of my own playthrough. Up until now, it's been a story game, plot point to plot point, and while these plot points may be tedious in some aspects, they've made sense and have a defined structure. Even the side quests have been related to the place I'm in. But now, that's about to change. Flashpoints are the game's early dungeons. They are short, self-contained adventures for teams of players, and if you don't have players with you, they will fill those spaces with AI companions. The tutorial has told me I can queue up for the I do that, and the queue pops almost instantly, and I get whisked away to some random ship to talk to someone random, and there's an Empire attack, and now we're fighting for a ship, and yeah, the experience is cool, but the narrative structure the opening existed within is now just completely gone. The whole find my own ship storyline, so I could get off You've just teleported me directly onto another ship. It kind of undermines the whole your stuff on the hammer plot concept. So I start through the ship, and I hear this control panel explosion, followed by a very delayed ragdoll physics flinging this NPC, and then I meet this NPC who looks like the human form of Flash. I also like how when running down, the Imperial boarding ships crash into the side of any ship and soldiers pour out, and then hand out missions to save people, but you're so doing so will make the mission harder. All choices affecting gameplay difficulty is a decent level of roleplaying, but then I have to pop off for dinner in real life, so I quit the game. And when I load it back up, I spawn in at Garrick Space Station, a place I've never been to before. Now, it put me here because the Flashpoint is a temporary dungeon and Garrick Station is a permanent place, but my main story mission is leave Ord Mantell and get to Garrick Space Station, but I'm here, because leaving the Flashpoint put me here. So now I need to find a way to get back to Ord Mantell, the planet I was on, so I can get a ship to Garrick Space Station, where I currently am, so I can continue the quest to find my ship. Because without it, I can't explore the galaxy, despite the fact I can apparently just teleport onto
Games are like this all the time too. It's so annoying.
How a brand new player, especially a player new to the MMO genre as a whole, might find this a tad confusing.
Yeah,
And
or
all of this
annoying.
happened because the tutorial pop-ups decided to explain what flashpoints were at a random time when I hadn't discovered them naturally through the gameplay. This is a perfect example of why you should make a player play through a system when it fits into the narrative structure of your game and not just throw it at them via text. I spend ages running around the Republic Fleet Central Hub. Bodhi asks me if I'm the real Josh, and I have a difficult time replying because chat for free players is heavily limited. You can talk in the opening planet, but in this area, the main central hub, you cannot use general, or yell, or say, or even private message most players. You can talk in groups during content and that's about it, so we communicate via emotes and then say our goodbyes. Eventually I manage to find the departures lounge and make my way back, where I get attacked by 2 bounty hunters, but just to test, I stand in the crossfire, proving that early game combat encounters are meaningless because you literally cannot die. I'm not saying early game combat should be brutally hard, but it should require a little more tactical thought than this. Take a ship to the main Republic fleet and another tutorial pops up. You can get a speeder, level 10 if you're a paying member and level 20 as a free player. Paying players also have the emergency fleet recall ability, which lets you return to your team's central hub at any point. Free players can buy single-use passes to do this from the shop. We'll look at the shop and monthly membership later on. The hunt continues. Hop into a taxi and Corso just straight up disappears. Maybe he's a ghost. Maybe animating a companion getting into a taxi was just too much. Maybe the real Corso was the friends we made along the way. Have a quick dance in the cantina and then see, oh, Corso has a quest symbol above his head. You can chat to your companions to advance a plot line with them. That's a very BioWare touch. Meet some criminal dude called Darmus. He's playing a card game with the cards from Battlestar Galactica, and then we stand around and talk at each other for 5 minutes. The world is amazing, and yet the gameplay is mostly running. My god, so much running. Break into more prisons and meet this supercomputer whiz lady. She has the ability to change data records and asks what we want to make Skarbek look like. So I say, make him look like a Sith spy on all worlds. He's not a Sith spy, he just has our ship, but I'm vindictive and want to ruin the rest of his life. I then get told that at level 10 I unlock my family legacy, and at 50 things really get going. Let's just focus on the low levels for now, game. I think this highlights how the MMO design has hurt your story design. You're telling the player who's enjoying a slower paced, involved story, hey, when you finally reach 50, the game begins, and they're going to think, oh great, hours of dull slog and simple combat left to go. We get sent to find some Black Sun holo recordings because someone needs them for some reason sort of related to Skarbek, and my inventory is full, but I can buy more inventory spaces with cartel coins. So let's look at the shop. The Old Republic is free to download and play right now, but the free part should really be considered a demo because there's a lot you can't do as a free player. You can't talk in most chats. You can't even equip the epic items that you can find in the low-level flashpoints. You can't return to your central hub at will, and while all those things are included with the monthly subscription, there's also a cash shop. You can buy cartel coins and then spend them, because otherwise how can they sell you awkwardly sized packs of coins and make sure you're always slightly over or slightly under what you need? Now the shop isn't pay to win. You can't buy anything that makes you incredibly powerful. You can buy everything individually, or you can take a risk on the loot boxes of those things. Meaning you could buy individual bits of armor or mounts or weapons or companions or pets, or you could buy the loot boxes of those things, potentially getting something very rare for a good price, but most likely getting something very cheap for a higher price. Essentially, you're paying for the mystery. Oh, and that line about not being able to equip rare loot even if you get it as a drop, I wasn't joking. I did some flashpoints, got some level 17 armor as a boss drop, and I can't equip it until I either buy membership for a month or spend £6 on the one-time purchase of Artifact Equipment Wearing Skill. The sub itself is $15 a month with better value for buying longer time periods. It includes some cartel coins and access to the game's 8 expansions, the latest of which released in 2022, so it's definitely not a dead game. In fact, Steam Charts shows a daily average of 9,000 players, and that's just Steam, not including the game's own launch. So to answer the inevitable, is it worth playing the Old Republic in whatever year you're watching this is question? Yes, it is. It's a great RPG, it's just not the best MMO. Here's a lovely touch, and in fact a perfect example of how to do a hidden tutorial. You get sent an in-game mail from an NPC. It's relating to the NPC dying and triggering a dead man's switch and sending us some items. But look what you've done. You've introduced the player to the mail system and you've linked it to the plot. And you've shown it can send items. It doesn't feel forced, it feels completely naturally integrated, and it's taught the player how a system works. But then from good design to bad design. See the galaxy map flashing at the top of the screen. I go to click it to stop it flashing because I assume the flashing means new information, please click here. But I can't click it because I don't have a ship, so I literally cannot stop this from flashing. I just want my ship. Every story element is beyond my control, so I'm just speedrunning this now. And finally, thankfully, I die. Good. Combat now needs attention. Let's do this. Find some hollow recordings. Skavek has sent some assassins to kill a policeman, so we go and find him to keep the trail to Skavek hot. And when we do find him, we get deputized and ordered to help him. Okay, I'm a smuggler. And the opening section of the smuggler's story is, be a detective, congrats, you're now a policeman. This is the opposite of what I wanted. None of my choices really matter, and now we get told that Skavek has stolen a ruby and we need to hunt him down and, okay, hang on, I've just realised something. Skavek is having the adventure I should be having. He's stolen someone's ship, stolen a ruby, foiled an assassin, on the run from a psychotic, unstoppable ex-captain whose whole opening has cast us as the wrong person. I literally want to play Skavek right now. So we run back to the
That's actually very funny. That was very funny. Some of the best YouTube content I've seen in a long time. Like, or in a long time.
Really annoys me because he asks, "Hey,
I want to be the antagonist. He had the quest line that
and then the screen goes black, and then we're told,
I want to hear it again. That was actually very funny. I want to be the antagonist because he has the quest line that I want. You know, hello. Why does it look all crappy? It's just weird. It should look good. Gorn is hella loot. So I'm picking up all these purples, but I don't know. Yeah. Oh yes, but we're.
Perhaps we could play a little sabacc? While we wait for...
Stand still and shoot them, and then we meet up with the crime boss dude again. Now this cutscene really annoys me, because he asks, hey, want to play the card game Sabacc? So I say, yeah. Scene really... stolen a ruby, and we need to hunt him. Congrats, you're now a policeman. This is the... Okay, I'm a smuggler, and the opening section of the smuggler story is, be a detective, congrats, you're now
Congrats.
a policeman.
You're
This
now a
is the
policeman.
opposite of what I wanted. None of my choices really matter, and now we get told that Skavek has stolen a ruby, and we need to hunt him down, and okay, hang on, I've just realised something. Skavek is having the adventure I should be having. He's stolen someone's ship, stolen a ruby, foiled an assassination attempt, and is now considered a wanted Sith on the run from a psychotic, unstoppable ex-captain. The whole opening has cast us as the wrong person. I literally want to play Skavek right now. So we run back to the club and get attacked by 3 bounty hunters. There's even a cutscene. This fight plays out the same as all the rest do, just stand still and shoot them, and then we meet up with the crime boss dude again. Now this cutscene really annoys me, because he asks, hey, want to play the card game Sabacc? So I say yeah, because I love RPGs with card games in them. And then the screen goes black, and then we're told,
While we wait for Scott to make his next move, perhaps we could play a little sabacc?
Sold that one.
Or so, don't be such a spoiled sport. What do you say, Captain? First game's on me.
What's the harm in a friendly game of cards? Let's say I didn't warn you, Captain.
Get us a round of drinks, won't you, Corso? As a good man, let's deal some cards. You win again. That was very impressive.
Impressive. The captain just cleaned your chrono, Darmus.
I'd say you've played this
Clean
game
your
before.
chrono.
I don't even get to play the game. I'm just told I'm great at it. Come on, BioWare, that is weak. News comes in that Skavak is sighted in the Justicar sector, so we head off.
There is a lot of
Sign
corn
decent
here.
Player-friendly polish. Pressing M brings up the map. While standing
Wow.
still, the map is opaque. When moving, it goes transparent, so you can see through it and see where you're going. That's a small touch, but it shows the design team not only understood the function of the map, but also the way players were most likely to use it. Our underworld informant is called Jik. Her brother has been kidnapped, and we need to go and get him back before she'll help us find Skavak. So to do that, we need to destroy some cameras, and then another twist. The Justicars are working with the Empire, and I don't care. I literally
I
just
don't
want
care,
my
I
ship
don't care.
back. I have no emotional connection to any of these people or their allegiances. Right now, all I want to be is...
I don't know, I kind of want to go like a quieter vibe. I don't know. Is that dog on me? Yeah, he is. Oh, God. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I'll get long enough. There, that's looking quiet enough where. Yeah, where I can probably get away with it. Yeah, like right here. Yeah, it's looking quiet enough. Okay. I'm gonna do my fucking butterfly. Decidedly expert. Ready. Okay. Damn it. Fucked up bad on that one, oh well. That's some XP. Okay, now
Scarvek. We get told that Scarvek was seen in The Works, so we head over to what was expecting a discount bookstore and instead got some sewers. And finally, after 6 hours, we catch up to Scarvek. And what does he do? He goddamn runs away, and we don't even try to shoot him. We are left with some Imperial guys, the policeman we helped earlier shows up, then there's a shootout and the policeman dies but tells us to check Hangar Bay 87. So we go there, fight some guy called Fabazan, he begs for his life and promises to upgrade our ship if we spare him, so I spare him, and finally, goddamn finally, I get my ship. And with the ship back, we get access to the galaxy map and told about ship-to-ship combat. The galaxy map lists all possible destinations along with fuel costs required to reach them and a recommended level range for that planet, so we can finally start being a smuggler. Slight annoyance, the recommended level range doesn't show up when you cursor over the planet, it only shows up when you click onto the planet specifically. So we take a walk into the cargo bay of our own ship, and it seems the ship now comes with some new crew. This girl was previously working with Scarvik, but decides she's with us now. The tutorial box asks if I want to try some ship-to-ship PvP combat, so I think, yeah, how hard can it be? And I queue up. And I should have known by now. I should have realised it's the same design principle as the rest of the game. Excellent system, terrible introduction. No onboarding, no training, no slow creep of complexity or rising difficulty. Just throw the player in to a PvP dogfight minigame. Teams of players battle for control of 3 points in space, 3 space stations, and you fly around taking the other team out and trading control of the points until one team reaches 1,000 points. And I think this minigame specifically really encapsulates the design philosophy of the Old Republic. It's an excellent 3D dogfight minigame with lots of systems, aiming, dodging, boosting, barrel rolls. This is actually where the fun begins, but it's also explained to the player entirely through 3 pages of text. I win the PvP battle because the rest of my team were good enough to cover for me and vowed never to play it again, so I take my main ship back to the Republic and queue up for some more team-based flashpoints. I want to see how group dungeons feel with other players. And honestly, group dungeons feel amazing. Everyone gets level scaled to the same high level so every member of a party feels useful, and the numbers are still relatively low, so it's not a mess of damage labels on the screen. The mechanics are pretty well explained, and I was lucky enough to get some really kind and patient players in my group who talked me through all the encounters, and I had a great time. Either the community is actually quite inviting, or I got very lucky and happened to find a lot of people who were willing to be patient with me. I took out some mobs, died to a turret, waited to be respawned, and got taught to just suicide after killing the final boss to make the journey back to the start a bit faster. And look, flashpoints now actually make sense. They are dungeons, but you access them from the main hangar deck, which I've just arrived at within the narrative, and each ship leads to a different flashpoint because you are basically a volunteer strike team being dropped off to do stuff. This makes so much sense. Holding back the tele to flashpoint ability until the player has journeyed to it once on their account would prevent so much confusion. So now I just queue up for a load more flashpoints, and I can only access the first one because I'm still a low level, but this is a fun experience. It's just a shame it took me 6 hours of running and one major narrative break of queuing to get here. Star Wars The Old Republic is a great RPG that is poorly ported into an MMO. It is terrible at helping you see how great it actually is. But there's still one thing I need to do. The Old Republic is a story-driven game, and while I think the smuggler story is rather dull because you're not even the main character or the one doing the smuggling, everyone has told me the Imperial Agent storyline is substantially better. So I started a new character and played through the Imperial Agent main quest, reading all the dialogue, watching all the cutscenes, and properly immersing myself. Here's a breakdown of my 8 hours as an Imperial Agent. First and foremost, the voice is perfect.
Secure transmission established. This is Keeper. You may speak freely, Agent. Prepare to receive your orders.
I take it you're my handler.
Correct. I'm speaking to you from service headquarters on Drummond Cast. I'll be directing you personally on this matter.
I'd like to think you'll be trouble with me. You'll be bloodthirsty, treacherous. Because I could enjoy keeping an eye on a bloodthirsty, treacherous pirate.
Do what you want, just stay out of my way.
What should I think about now?
Don't worry. You don't have to think anymore.
I don't have to think. Thank you.
All you have built here, all you hope to control, it falls apart as easily as a human life. An hour ago, the Minister of Intelligence dropped to his knees and wept before me. You would do so too.
This cornfield was a battle.
For the satisfaction is
Oh, damn.
No, I'm asking you.
So I have this mindset where I can't reach them, but absolutely can. You can just shoot like pretty much anything that's nearby, and
That's correct, my lord.
I am
that guy has a lot of mobs.
Serve me well in your dealings with Nemro. You will serve me well again.
I wonder if he needs
So,
help.
Imperial intelligence.
I don't know. Seems alright. He's like 49. Yeah, he has a lot of mobs.
Even your handler has learned this.
We're basically an Imperial James Bond with a license to kill. We're sent to infiltrate the Nemro Hutt crime family because the Empire want to leverage their planetary exports. We take on the persona of the legendary pirate the Red Blade because apparently they're on the other side of the galaxy. And after breaking in, you need to disable 3 hidden listening devices. But they're hidden, so you just break stuff until you find them, which makes complete narrative sense. Then we go and kill some guards in a mine and steal some uniforms. Then there's a stealth section. And then we befriend a doorman who asks us what working for the Empire is like because his 2 sons have started trading careers with the Empire, so we butter him up and tell him it's great, and you actually get quite connected to this guy. And then we get a message from HQ telling us the doorman's sons angered a Sith Lord, one of them is dead and the other is paralysed. So we then use this knowledge to threaten the doorman into telling us more stuff about the gangs by saying, hey, be nice or your paralysed son gets killed as well, which is brutal, and then I get stuck in the floor, like in the world. I open the map at the exact time I go up a step, and my character somehow glitches into the step. And then my character stops moving. And then the screen goes black. And the UI still works, and I can see on the map that I'm spinning around, so I log out. But this phenomenon persists throughout logout. It even persists throughout closing the game and restarting it. So many bugs. I have to queue up for a flashpoint, and then return to this point from the main area, just to carry on with it. Eventually, the real Red Blade shows up because the intelligence was bad, so we kill him and then get called to see Darth Jadus. We murder a slave rebellion leader, then get called to the Sith Temple. And the Sith City is so much cooler than the Galactic Federation. Seriously, play the Sith just for the environments. In a fantastic bit of role-playing, I tell Darth Jadus, I work for the Imperial Intelligence, not for you. And he straight up kills me to prove a point. More missions and oh man, you can be such a dick if you play as the bad guys.
You're military, right? You've got that in charge kind of look. And the weapons.
I'm not military. I'm from Imperial intelligence.
Oh, I see. You're going to make me mysteriously disappear.
Samara, be careful. You need to take this seriously.
Shut up, Ogun. I said I'm done with you. So, tell me, how can I serve the Empire?
There are anti-government radicals operating on Drummond Cars. Tell me about them.
I don't know what you're talking about. My dad's the one who always complained about the government. Anyway, if you want to talk to Theodore, not sure what I can do. He isn't seeing a lot of visitors.
I tried to ask nicely, but I'm running out of patience.
God damn, you just socked her?
I was wondering when you were going to get around to that.
Wow, you just smack her? Wow.
Tell me what I want to know.
He smacked her, he just smacks her.
That workshop is in Lord Grafton's estate. I've got codes to get in. You can get a key card from the guards. That's everything I know. Just stop.
Was that so difficult?
I take on a solo flashpoint, get instructed to commandeer an Imperial vessel to intercept another vessel. The captain of this vessel disagrees, so I get to, should we say, relieve him of command.
Stay calm, Ensign. Everyone stay calm.
No threats found. The bridge is now secure.
Tell me, who's in charge?
I'm Captain Revenant Orzik. I'm pretty sure I know what this is about. For the record, I take complete responsibility for my actions.
I understand, Captain. If nothing else, that should make it easier on the crew.
I'm glad it's worth something. You're here because of the moth, aren't you? You must want a Bental Star's passenger pretty badly. Or maybe he just hates me. The Black Talon would be destroyed chasing a battleship. I've fought in the war before and I'll fight again, but I don't do suicide missions.
Suicide was deciding you should ignore your superiors.
The captain's dead. The
Shut up! You have our attention, sir. What would you have us do?
Let this be a lesson. Your only hope for survival is complete and utter loyalty.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In accordance with Article 27A of the Imperial Code of Military Conduct, command of this vessel has been lawfully transferred. New orders are being downloaded to your consoles. Priority 1, intercept the Brentol Star.
Bukara, do as the droid says and prepare to jump to light speed.
Emerging from hyperspace now. One Thranta-class warship on the scanners. Powering up.
Enemy is firing. Turbo lasers, missiles, and what looks like transport pods. I'm not sure.
The pods are a distraction. Return fire. Aim for their power generators. So long as they're damaged and we're not, we have the advantage.
Lieutenant, Captain Silas, sir. Engineering is reporting blaster fire. They just cut out.
Remind me to report your incompetence when we get to Drummond Cass.
Damn it. There must be some sort of boarding action. If they're in engineering, they could destroy this ship. With due respect, I recommend you lend a hand down there.
It's trivial enough, I'll handle it.
I'll notify security.
And don't worry, we won't let those Republic scum get away.
Fight through a ship, find an Imperial defector, and then this awesome moment where a transport ship flies into the hangar I'm in, almost killing me. So I report all this to High Command, and okay, I have to admit, I've left out a lot of that story because it's really good and I want you to play it. Because the Imperial Agents storyline isn't just one of the better MMO storylines, it's one of the better RPG storylines in general gaming. The Old Republic is worth downloading and playing for this story alone. Ultimately, the Old Republic is an RPG. It's a single-player RPG with a chat function and some multiplayer bits. The MMO part has had years of tweaks, patches, and updates, and now it's deep and it's complex, with no route to really understanding the depth or the complexity built into the game beyond reading and just asking around. Honestly, the players seem to care more about onboarding new players than the developers do. And now I need a score. I need something which says it's a great product worn down by years of updates. It's something the community care about more than the creators. And while there's a great story buried in there somewhere, it's bogged down with so much filler and so many unexplained bits you'll sometimes struggle to enjoy it. I need a score which says it's great because the foundation is great, but it's been neglected over the years, and a new fan won't really know what's going on because the creators don't seem to have put any effort into making sure new fans are up to speed, and it sometimes feels like they're relying on nostalgia more than good modern design. And I think I've got that score. So to end the review, I will award the Old Republic Star Wars out of 10. Thank you very much for watching. Another massive thank you to all the supporters on Patreon and Twitch who keep the channel alive. You can support from only £1 a month. Check the video description for links to the Patreon, Twitch, Twitter and our Discord. And as always, may the Force be with you.
Salutations everybody, it is Maddie here today, and I hope all of you had an absolutely fantastic weekend. I understand Mondays are typically a day for mourning because all the fun times are over and we're back to work, but today especially is a day for mourning as well as some celebrating because it's Fallout's 25th anniversary. I just wanted to send a genuine, no funny shout out to the former developers at Interplay, Bethesda, and Obsidian for crafting a phenomenal franchise that has had a tremendous impact on my life. I literally wouldn't be here
did have
if it weren't for Fallout springboarding my career into another level where there was much more eyes on my content than I ever expected, And here we are today after evolving and adapting. So thank you all for sticking with me, but also thank you to all the talented developers that make this series possible. And I hope there are brighter days in our future.
And a less online future at that.
With that, ladies and gentlemen, I thought there was no better way to celebrate Fallout's 25th anniversary than to get into a big heaping batch of Bethesda news. So we have 5 items on the news report today, and all of them are major headliners. We're going to talk about Starfield's ray tracing integration to get things started off. Afterwards, we're going to move into Skyrim Anniversary Edition, which is broken, by the way, on Nintendo Switch, and talk a little bit about that, because some people are going to be putting their foot in their mouths. We're going to dive straight into Pete Hines' most recent promotion and what that means for Bethesda moving forward. We're also going to talk about a new interview with an ex-Bethesda Game Studios developer that does give us some insight on Starfield, worth discussing. And last but not least, Dishonored and Deathloop are connected universes. So let's not delay any further. If you're new here, you like Bethesda news, information, discussions, all that good stuff, you're in the right spot. Consider subscribing. Maybe I'll push you a little bit harder this time. We are close to 500K, so maybe just subscribe to help you man out. But with that, let's get straight into it, beginning with Starfield's ray tracing integration. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm not a big ray tracing guy, but I know this is a big deal for many of you out there. Starfield being a next-gen only game, this does mean it's pretty significant. But we'll talk about the type of integration that could be occurring here for Starfield, given the scale of its game. First, let's go to the source, which is over at LinkedIn. The Starfield community unearthed this one where they went to Jermaine Mazak's profile. He is a graphics programmer at Bethesda Game Studios Montreal, and underneath his work experience, it says that Starfield has ray tracing integration. Now, there are, to my knowledge, a number of ways you could integrate ray tracing, right? The real-time reflection. And one way you could do this is through DLSS, which effectively lets the AI do it for you. I am of the mindset that I don't expect full-on ray tracing integration in Starfield, strictly because of how resource intensive that is and how that could bog down many scenes in the game. I have no doubt, just based off the gameplay that we all saw, Starfield will look very good. But given the scope and scale, size of Starfield, I think it's tough for me to buy into full-on ray tracing integration, as that can maybe take away from what Bethesda could do with the scene to make it more of an RPG, more of an interactive experience. If every item has real-time reflections on it, when you pick up that shiny cup and it has a light reflecting off of it, that's going to happen in just real time. In turn, this is actually something that could hypothetically bog down the game. Although I don't have any experience with ray tracing implementation, I imagine based off what I've read from developers, this is something that could occur. Now, it'd be great if it just had the option there for those who have super rigs, but I personally feel like it may be a more, we'll say, dumbed down, if you will, I put that in air quotes, version of ray tracing. For me, whether it's actual full-on ray tracing or DLSS or the multiple other options you can integrate ray tracing, to me, I would just be looking for the performance version. Especially after seeing that gunplay, I feel like I need all the frames I can get. So I will take that. I always personally prefer that. I know some people are in love with the graphics, in love with the fidelity mode. I completely respect that. So know that you should be getting well taken care of here by Bethesda Game Studios. I just hope their focus is really on performance. I think performance and bug stomping should be the priority above any form of fidelity, but that's just my personal opinion. We'll see how it all plays out. Right now, it's just pure speculation, and we have a feeling that this will be in the game based off this graphics programmer at Bethesda Game Studios Montreal. Let's continue onward into Skyrim Anniversary Edition. So we talked about this just a week or so ago, saying how Bethesda has gone too far and they're selling Skyrim again, which is one thing if you're bringing it to a new console, but they're selling it for $70. What happens is you have the $50 Skyrim Anniversary Edition, which I think is still a little pricey for a game that came out in 2011, or if you want to be really strict with your terms, 2016 with the special edition remaster, and then they laid the anniversary update on top of it. $50 is still a lot, and then to get all the anniversary edition content, which is about 6 gigabytes of content, that would cost you an additional $20. Now, some people did go out of their way to pick this up, to play it, because they love Skyrim, and I will be the first to say that the Switch version, if you were looking for a not modded experience, is fantastic. But as you can see here in this video posted on Reddit that had 7,000 thumbs up, This game drops a lot of frames since the recent update. It seems like Bethesda just laid about 6 gigabytes of content on top of the game, didn't really test it much, and then threw it out there. Now, this guess comes from a write-in over on the Reddit thread, and typically I don't like to use random commenters as a source of discussion, but since it's really all the education we have to go off of, I feel like it's worth exploring since it has to do with Nintendo Switch modding. Something that I didn't know was really possible in the terms of Skyrim, but here's a little bit of insight from Niles RX, who writes, as far as rules go, I'm pretty sure this is allowed. I've been in the modding circle for Skyrim on the Switch for a while now. We spent this whole day racking our brains on what exactly is causing this issue, testing everything we could think of. This is what we discovered so far. The CPU is not at fault. While it is pretty taxed, it does have some leeway. Not the GPU either. It managed just fine, meaning that none of this is being bogged down performance-wise by the hardware. The game is basically the same with minor graphics changes as it was a week ago. Nothing made sense from a hardware standpoint. Turns out, there's some absolutely abysmal coding on Bethesda's part that just makes the game stutter the more DLCs and mods are added. It's been a known issue in the community, but never to such an extent that there weren't many cases of people adding, 74 mods? We were able to deactivate all of them and the game runs fine. And credit to where credit's due, can't believe I just said that, it does present graphically better with a negligible performance dip. I always regarded Bethesda as greedy, but this is just outright stupid. It feels like they didn't even bother to boot up the game after adding 6 gigs worth of content to see how it runs. And they're charging $70 for the full game. Yeah, wow. Just wow. Again, I normally don't like to run with Reddit comments, but I feel like that seems to be the best summary of what's happening here. And I know a lot of people are immediately going to point at the Switch and Nintendo, just like they did last time when I went after Bethesda and said, no, it's absolutely unacceptable that you're selling the game for $70. People went, well, that's Nintendo. No, Bethesda as a game publisher has their right to price their game on the market where they feel it's best. Nintendo does not make that overall decision unless there is money by them invested in the product, which, to my knowledge, there is not with Skyrim, a game that existed on the 360 and PS3 back in 2011 and on the PS4 and Xbox One in 2016. So to me, Nintendo has no dog in this race. They are just the platform holder, and they are letting a game enter their marketplace for the price point they feel is worth it. They let the shovelware go on the platform for $1, $2, so on and so forth. So this is all Bethesda on the price point, and this is all Bethesda on what seems to be a programmatic issue for Skyrim Anniversary Edition on Switch. This is greatly disappointing because for me, one of the most easy recommendations for a vanilla Skyrim experience was the Switch version. There are still people who have not played Skyrim or want to replay it again in a new way, and this formerly best way has now been tainted until Bethesda goes out and fixes it. But I do have a little bit of fear that what will happen here may have been the same that occurred with something like Pillars of Eternity 2 over on Switch, where Obsidian just had to abandon it even though it had game-breaking bugs in it. And here, this is just a major dip in performance, and I don't know if Bethesda will ever dip back in. I never trust these developers to just go back in when the money's there and they're already getting people to pay for it, and there's not this loud uproar because it's easily being swept under the rug. It's sort of how I felt about the Killer Instinct situation with Xbox, although internally, before I could even say anything, I was proven wrong by that. So we'll see what happens with the Skyrim situation, but until then, on to our next story involving Pete Hines. So Pete Hines has been promoted. What position, you may ask? Pete Hines has been promoted to Bethesda's head of global publishing. According to GamesIndustry.biz, Pete Hines, former senior vice president of global marketing and communications at Bethesda Softworks, has been promoted to head of global publishing at the studio, GamesIndustry.biz can confirm. Additionally, Aaron Losey, vice president of global marketing and communications, will now lead all of Bethesda's global marketing and communication efforts. Quote, "It's a privilege to lead global publishing for Bethesda, a place that's been my home for 23 years, end quote, Hines said in a statement. Quote, "It's humbling to think about how far we've come in that time, and I'm excited to work in this new role to help our world-class teams make great games," end quote. Then Aaron Losey says, quote, "When I started at Bethesda, there were just a few of us working on campaigns for Skyrim, Fallout 3, and more. Since then, we've grown into a world-class marketing and communications team, and it's been my great joy to be a part of that growth alongside Pete." end quote. Now, I thought this one was interesting because Phil Spencer actually had some comments saying, quote, Pete has been key to the success of Bethesda over the last 2 decades. His industry leadership and strong relationship with the community has extended Bethesda to millions of players. Aaron has been instrumental in shaping the Bethesda brand and the teams behind it, and I am incredibly excited to see them both bring Bethesda's games to even more players around the world. So I actually, when I first saw this, got worried because I thought Pete Hines was leaving the company. I love Pete, and I want him to stay as long as humanly possible because I think you don't get people as often as Pete Hines. I know some folks have had issues in the past with his snark. I know some folks have certainly had issues with the way Fallout 76 was handled from a PR standpoint, and I completely agree, and I was right there with you, holding their feet to the fire. Even though I consider some of these folks friends, we gotta talk accountability no matter who it is, close friends, or people in the industry, whoever it is, we need to always remain holding people accountable. So I get it, but I just feel that level of care from someone at such a high up position is not seen often. Most times they're bean counters, they're looking at the money, and certainly that's a big part of the job, but Pete's heavily investing in the product, and I think we need to hold on to that tightly because right now we're looking at a transitionary stage in the industry as we move into more of a business look at things, where you look at Xbox with service and cloud streaming, you look at PlayStation with their remakes and how they're charging for director's cuts. It's becoming more and more of a business. And yes, even Bethesda, as we just talked about with Skyrim Anniversary Edition, I'm sure there is some hand of Pete Hines in that decision to charge $70 for Skyrim Anniversary Edition. That is a joke. So there are still places to improve, but I do think having someone invested in the product that they are releasing allows for more creative ventures, something like a Starfield, something like a Deathloop. Even if I didn't like Deathloop much, I'm happy the game exists because the team got to do something new, and they were out there really pushing it. I mean, we all joked about the amount of state of plays were there for that game. Bethesda believes strongly in their games. Like them or hate them, they believe strongly in their games, and I think a person like Pete Hines is fundamental to that outward success. So I'm happy for Pete. I'm happy for Aaron as well, who I've had the pleasure of meeting in the past. You saw both these people at the Xbox Bethesda roundtable discussion, so you could put some faces to these people if you have yet to see them before. But I digress. Congrats to Pete, and I'm excited for more Bethesda games down the line. Speaking of which, let's talk about Deathloop. Now, I've made it no secret, I'm not a huge fan of Deathloop. I do prefer Arcane's other games by a huge margin. However, one thing that piqued a lot of people's curiosity, and we will not spoil it here, don't worry, is whether or not Deathloop and Dishonored as a universe are connected. There were hints throughout the game. Some received them as just mere Easter eggs. For example, the Drunken Whaler song playing. I found that and went, oh, cool, they're just giving a nod to Dishonored. But I will, again, not spoil it. In the Golden Loop ending, there are some more forward-pushing things that may indicate, by the way, just artistically, no words are spoken about it, but artistically, that this does have something to do with things that occur post-Death of the Outsider, which is a game, by the way, that you should play. Moving on, though, it has now been confirmed. Deathloop, as well as Dishonored, are in connected universes. I thought this was nice to see. I personally wish it was conveyed a little better. Some people preferred the more under-the-radar approach they took with like 3 Easter eggs. For me, I feel they could have been a little more heavy-handed, indicating where they were going with things, because to me, now knowing this, it feels like the game just tried to straddle the line of, hey, we're kind of tied to the world, and if that works out marketing-wise, well, then we're really connected. While we don't have the metrics in front of us on what's sold better, it is certainly nice to have a fallback option to go, hey, these universes are connected. But I found this to be exciting information because it does have serious ramifications for the future of the franchise, now knowing this is connected. I don't know why it wasn't said originally, because I believe going into the game, people would have looked at it a lot differently, myself included. Would it have changed my review? No, because I think mechanically the game is flawed, and systems-wise, the game is flawed. So it wouldn't have changed that, but I could have looked at the story a little bit differently, perhaps. But to me, I thought this was nice to share with the audience, see what everyone thought about it. Last on our news report here is a Starfield interview involving Nate Perkypile, an ex-Bethesda Game Studios employee. We didn't get major scoops here, but some interesting tidbits that I think we can dig into a bit deeper. So let's read this interview by PC Games N. Starting off, this person is Nate Perkypile, founder of Just Perky Games and a developer for 17 years, 14 of which were spent at Bethesda from Fallout 3 all the way to Starfield. As an artist on many projects, naturally, Perkypile wasn't able to go too in-depth about Starfield due to contracts and the fact that it isn't out until next year, but he gave us some interesting tidbits about the space project. When it comes to the size of Starfield, Perkypile says it isn't just the biggest game Bethesda has ever made, but also the one that has required the biggest team as well. Quote, the scope of the project is the main thing that's different because, you know, Fallout 3, Skyrim, Fallout 4, that was all one team. Fallout 76, that was two mostly. We had a little bit of help from Montreal, but that was mostly the Austin and Maryland Bethesda studios working together. But yeah, Starfield is a much bigger project. It's like 500 people or something on the team, whereas I think Fallout 76 was maybe 200 tops, end quote. Added Perkypile, saying that the colossal size of the development team was one of the reasons why he left and decided to make games on his own. Now, for those who want a quick too long, didn't read on that reasoning, the reason he left Bethesda Game Studios was because building an IP from the ground up and actually deciding how everything connects and how the world displays itself is a much larger undertaking than let's make another Fallout game. You already have this pre-established vision of what the art looks like, how simple things function, and you'd be surprised how people think things through. Okay, we have a car. How is the car powered? Does it float? Does it have wheels? Etc. etc. It just goes into the ins and outs. All of this matters across the entire development team, whether gamers recognize it or not. It helps build the world and gets everyone on the same page for the vision. So I understand why he left, because building a brand new IP from the ground up is incredibly difficult. Now, to his actual answer here about the scale of Bethesda Game Studios working on this project, we now have a decent number, at least a gauge, for how many folks are working on Starfield. 500 people. And when you think about it, that's more than double Fallout 76. So now you have Bethesda Game Studios across multiple teams. That's 500 people all pulling together to work on Starfield. So this is, as I have reported in the past and clear as day when you see it, an all hands on deck project. So it's very fascinating to see a number attached to that. As for building the world of Starfield on a technical level, Nate says, I can't really go into the tech details of it. The map of Fallout 76 is like almost 2 times the size of Skyrim or so. And that was a lot of work for people to do, but yeah, it doesn't scale. Even if you wanted to hire outsourcing, you'd have to hire like a country. Realistically, it's a fraction of the team actually working on planets. I think this is really important insight for Starfield to know, oh, well, not everyone is working on building out these planets, and I keep trying to check the expectation. It doesn't make it okay that this is how the game will be, but do know there's going to be a lot of empty planets in this game. Just a small fraction of the team is working on these planets. They're likely working on, like I talked about in our last Starfield update, if you haven't checked it out, go look. They're likely working on all those small settlements, all those small towns, cities that you're going to find across multiple planets. That is what I'm looking for. Like 1 city per planet would be awesome, because then you spread out the amount of locations you typically find in something like Fallout 4 or Skyrim, and you just dot all those locations on multiple planets, and the game by default feels a lot more vast just by how it functions. But that's everything we have today in this gigantic Bethesda news update. So, ladies and gentlemen, what do you think about everything I delivered here in today's video? I'm certainly looking forward to seeing your thoughts. Other than that, be sure to follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. Salutations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, sitting down for a spicy Starfield news update. Todd Howard came out of hiding, and he shared a decent amount of information in regards to Starfield, so we're going to dive straight into it, ladies and gentlemen. If you are new here, you're into Starfield news, information, updates, all that stuff, I got you covered. You know I'm all over this game. Todd Howard could write on a napkin in a diner in the middle of Idaho that Starfield's going to have 500 more lines of dialogue than Fallout 4, and I would create an update on it. You know how we roll here. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. Let's talk about Starfield. All right, first and foremost, the source of this information, an unlisted video over on Bethesda's YouTube channel called Constellation Questions. And it's there that we have a 4-minute interview with Todd Howard and Bethesda Game Studios community manager talking all things Starfield. What's interesting about this is all these questions were crowdsourced, and the way Todd spoke about things, you can tell they read the scuttlebutt online, and I'll specify when exactly that is. But let's get into it, starting off with small things like the inspiration for Starfield on a game level. Of course, we saw in the first reveal trailer of Starfield there were a number of books that inspired Starfield, and they said there are hints within those books as to what Starfield will be. But I also think it's important that we highlight what games they took inspiration from, and there's some old ones that many of you probably haven't heard of. I certainly am speaking for myself there, as one game he mentioned is called Sundog. This game looks very Starfield, although it's extremely old. It has the ability to visit over 50 cities on 18 planets. There's a dialogue minigame. Sound familiar? You can go ahead and pilot your own ship. The other inspiration was a game called Traveler, which he called a D&D hard sci-fi type of game, and this is one of the first games that Todd Howard had programmed, so there's a little bit of history here, and that does lend some credibility to a lot of these Starfield leaks years and years before Starfield's actual reveal, which was that this type of sci-fi game was a big passion project of Todd, and given the history here, the old games that they are looking back on, I would say that is true. Continuing on, Todd answered the question on whether or not Starfield is considered hard sci-fi. The reason this is important is because eventually he gets into the fuel system, which does impact the gameplay. Now, Todd views it as a bit of a trap question, he called it, because it depends on your view of hard sci-fi. But ultimately, he says that Starfield is a hard sci-fi game to the team, but does remind us it's a video game, so it's not like you're going to go out into space and die because it's too cold out there or something like that. However, this does lead into him talking about the fuel system and how he's been reading papers on chronic physics where space bends in front of you and all this crazy stuff. But what he does let us know is that originally in Starfield, your ship would run out of fuel and the game would sort of just stop. You wouldn't be able to explore, and since you wouldn't be able to explore, it was kind of frustrating because you just wanted to get up and go and continue playing the game. Now, in the game's current state, and we did cover this in our trailer breakdown, but it's been verbally confirmed, the fuel and gravity drive limits how far you can go in Starfield, but it doesn't run out of fuel necessarily. He does suggest that an update or mod can allow such a thing in the future, you know, running out of fuel, but this is what they're doing now. Now, on paper, this sounds like a great choice. Of course, with any gameplay mechanic, we have to see how it feels, but I think this is the right idea because this is going to take the exploration game to a new level for Bethesda Game Studios. If there's one thing they got right, even in Fallout 76, it's exploration feels good. The point A to point B feels good. And with Starfield, that point A to point B is going to evolve because now you can go up into space and your point A to point B may be the empty space to a derelict space station. That is a very different type of traversal, especially because it's in a vehicle compared to always being on foot in other games. So I think it's important that they stop that as little as possible. It also sounds like this does lend the game a bit of progression. Again, as we showed in our Starfield gameplay breakdown, you can upgrade this fuel drive, you can upgrade this gravity drive, and what it will allow you to do is visit more and more distant solar systems, unlocking more places to explore. So there is a sense of progression as you get deeper in the game and as you augment your ship more and more and more, that you will see more and more and more. So I think it lends itself really well to the game, at least from what we're hearing here, what Todd is specifically telling us, and I like that. I do hope there is a survival mode at some point, which Bethesda seems to always add after launch, starting with Fallout 4. I do hope they do something along those lines because I could see Starfield with certain planet characteristics as we've seen indicated on the HUD, with the hot and cold, the oxygen meters, the types of gravity, plus maybe a fuel system that Starfield could actually make, again, on paper, a pretty cool survival experience. So I do hope they open things up there, but I imagine a modder will get to it first, and then Bethesda will give us the more curated version months and months down the line. But I'm also curious to see, on just that note, how post-launch support feels for Starfield compared to other Bethesda Game Studios games. Continuing on, he opens up a bit on the trait list here. This is another important part of Starfield and its character building. Now, just like we saw in the gameplay reveal, Starfield's traits come with a particular negative. Think of the flaw system in the Outer Worlds. He says that there are activities and quests, however, that allow you to remove said traits. And it tries to eliminate the option of, well, I don't like my character, so I'm going to start the whole game over. Each of these traits are something that you can solve that will remove them from the rest of your playthrough. And there's actually a new one that they showed here in this video called Hero Worshipped, mentioning an annoying, adoring fan that will show up and randomly speak to you, but at least he will give you gifts. I just wanted to shout this one out in particular because, to me, it just solidifies what I've said for months and months and months and months now. which is that on at least a mechanical level, on a design level, Starfield is that spiritual successor to Oblivion. Kind of Fallout 3 felt that way because they shared a lot of systems, but obviously we saw with Fallout 4 and 76, as well as even Skyrim to some extent, a lot of those systems were abandoned, but now we're seeing them transition back into what I thought were some of the greatest days of Bethesda Game Studios. My first BGS game, as many of you know, was Oblivion. I have such a soft spot for Oblivion. I think it's a fantastic video game. So the more and more I see of that energy in this game, which you will see soon in its dialogue, as well as just with the Adoring Fan, it's such a good idea to bring the Adoring Fan back. You know, I wonder what they're going to say, though. Of course, in Oblivion, we have the Biozuna, but what are we going to get here in Starfield? What's that version of it going to be like? Will it look like the Adoring Fan from Oblivion? I can't wait to find out. I mean, it feels particularly painful because just yesterday, we were supposed to be 1 month away from Starfield. So I'm glad Bethesda was self-aware enough to give us a little something, but man, it hurts because I want this game yesterday. Let's continue on though. We gotta talk about the big daddy, which is the speed check system. So one thing we learned about through tons of interviews, tons of talk, is that the dialogue in Starfield will be more of a traditional style Bethesda game. This is what I mean when I say that Todd Howard is listening, because the way he defined Starfield's dialogue is a more classic Bethesda-style conversation. This is something I only hear community say, whereas whenever he's spoken previously about, say, Fallout 3 or Fallout 4 or Skyrim, he calls them different renditions of the dialogue system. So to see them start referencing it as a more classic style of Bethesda Game Studios dialogue, and if you go back to even 76, when Wastelanders launched, they started to reference like, oh, it's like Fallout 3. It seems like Todd has borrowed the terminology from the community, which is good to see that they are staying passionate. You never know who's watching. Todd could be watching this right now. Todd, if you are, say hi in the comments down below. Let's continue though. This dialogue system looks legit. We got a small preview of it in action. I want to see it for yourself.
Speech persuasion system.
You're not talking us out of this score.
It feels like it's part of the dialogue, but you're spending points to persuade them.
You're willing to give up the ship? Just like that?
Now, as you see, there's a bit of a speech mini-game that happens here when you select persuasion. So it's not necessarily the skill check where you click persuasion and based off your skill versus the threshold set for the person you're speaking to, if you surpass that, like let's say you need 50 speech or more and you have 75 that you'll just automatically pass, it seems like you hit persuasion and you enter this mini game that's very much like Oblivion's. I see now what Bethesda Game Studios was talking about, because in Oblivion, as you went to persuade people, you would enter this very obscure, weird, janky mini game where their facial expressions would change as you go around this wheel and continue selecting things and trying to increase your overall reputation with this character. It felt really off. This feels like they took that system and literally stretched it out and put numbers next to it. So what happens is you'll see here that there are turns for the persuasion, and there are color tones next to each of the responses, +1, +3, +5, and I'm not sure what exactly these color tones indicate, if it means like red is too much, like you're really pushing it, but maybe you'll finish the persuasion job in one turn, or 1 is playing it too safe. I'm not sure how it all goes out, but you have a certain amount of points, and you see here in the gameplay that they select the option with +3, and suddenly this space pirate is a little more hesitant. By the way, sick armor, sick mask. Absolutely love the visual design here. Todd Howard said it feels more natural and not like you're just entering another mode. Again, this is likely referencing Oblivion, where you would go completely out of the actual dialogue itself and enter this wheel-based mini game. But one thing that has gone under the radar is Todd said very briefly that in the terms of content and scope, Starfield is just a bit more in the terms of what they've done before. That, at first, for a lot of people, was a cause for concern, but then what Todd said afterwards is what I think we've all been dying to hear, and also the one with the game, is that they're focusing more on depth. And it's there he gets into the dialogue system for Starfield, where he talks about how the game now has 250,000 plus lines of dialogue. I know we've talked a bit about the possibility to focus more on quantity than quality in the past, and I do think that's fair with, of course, one of the big talking points in Starfield being the 1,000 plus planets. It's something we definitely need to keep our eye on. However, to me, 250,000 lines of dialogue or more is a very good sign when you're talking about a role-playing game. Specifically, when the role-playing game before that, I love how they cut 76 out of the mixer, by the way. The role-playing game before that, which was Fallout 4, had 111,000 lines of dialogue. And you have to remember, the main character in that game was voiced. Now, Starfield, with a protagonist that is not voiced, has 250,000, more than double what Fallout 4 had. And if you go back to Skyrim, where the game's character was not voiced, it has 4 times more the dialogue there. Now, some folks had inquired to me over on Twitter, does this mean that things like books, text logs, whatever, terminal files, are all of those going to account for lines of dialogue? I think it differs from team to team. In my personal experience, we don't refer to lines of dialogue as the same thing as text files, as logs you can find on a terminal, etc., etc. Those are 2 separate things. However, the double-edged sword of this type of depth here in writing is that a lot of players won't see this stuff. You may do just one playthrough of Starfield, like many hundreds of thousands of players are going to do, and call it a day. But that depth will shine in your character progression, where NPCs in the world will respond to you based off maybe your background that you choose at the beginning of the game, that they will have different lines of dialogue depending on what choice you make when going down a quest path. That's where the depth is and why the count in dialogue is so significant here, because in a standard playthrough, you may see that same 111,000 that you saw across all of Fallout 4 if you exhausted every single option there. However, here in Starfield, given that we saw right then and there, before our very eyes, you click on Persuasion, and then there's a number of different lines for you to select based on how you want to progress. Apply that to any character in the game that you actually want to persuade, or if this applies to other speech check options, and it increases the actual dialogue demand exponentially. Ultimately, though, I don't know at the end of the day. It seems like it just differs from team to team. Although I just imagine when they talk dialogue, that sounds like character interaction with each other. So I would take it as that. Which is infinitely more exciting when you think about the books, the stories that you can learn within the universe of Starfield. Of course, the terminal files you're going to find in all of these various dungeons, all these various cities, the notes, etc., etc. Like, there's going to be so much, and that's because this is the foundation of a brand new game world. You have to account for all these things, and they've been creatively obsessing over this for years and years and years. So I am helplessly excited after seeing all of this. I'm just consistently hearing the right things. I remember I tried to keep my guard up, but they continue to say things that I've been dying for Bethesda to say for a long while now. The focus on depth, the focus on dialogue, the focus on role-playing, the odes, the honorary mentioning of Oblivion. They're taking a look at their own RPG portfolio, not what's trending in the industry with online play and stuff along those lines. Starfield looks amazing. Every time I see it, I get that shot of energy. Man, give me that now. I cannot wait. And I'm curious to hear your thoughts, ladies and gentlemen. So it's time for me to stop talking. It's time for you to fire away. So let me know what you're thinking in the comments down below. Other than that, please do follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members, who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Damone, and welcome back to another new video. Today we're going to be checking out the Great Sword Showcase video that they just dropped as we get ready for Brimstone Sands. They also dropped a little brief breakdown of the Great Sword, so we're going to talk about that and the actual experience that I've had with the Great Sword and against the Great Sword in Arena. So let's go ahead and get into this.
G'day guys, this is Tia, back with another Fallout 76 guide, and in today's video I'm going to be sharing an insanely useful bit of information that may revolutionise the way you play 76. I'm going to show you all how to hyper-optimise your VATS usage, basically so that you'll be using the least amount of AP per shot while in VATS as humanly possible. Now before we get started, I do have a disclaimer for you all, so that I don't waste some people's time. This hyper-optimization will straight up not work with heavy weapons or shotguns of any type. It also won't work on single-fire rifles or pistols. And sure, you can get close and make those weapons use a little bit less AP with this guide, but you'll never get to that hyper-optimization level with those weapons, unfortunately. So, that means no LMGs, Gatling plasmas, miniguns, Gauss shotguns, pump actions, no revolvers and no lever action rifles, etc, etc. This handy little tip will only work on weapons that are in the pistol and rifle category that can be modified to be automatic. So keep that in mind, and with that being said, let's jump straight into it. So in today's video, like I said, I will be showing you how to hyper-optimize your VATS usage. This will allow us to stay in VATS for a significantly longer amount of time, and if you've been paying attention to the background footage, you will have noticed how overpowered this is. Just look at how my AP usage is so minuscule. It's barely even noticeable, and this is only possible if you follow this guide to the letter. Basically, the first step above all else is make sure your weapon can be modified in the receiver slot to become an automatic weapon. You should have this option on weapons like the handmade rifle, combat rifle, automatic pipe rifle, layaway rifle, even the 10mm pistol. If you have one of those weapons that can be modified to be automatic, then congratulations, that's step 1 complete. Step 2, however, is a bit more difficult. Step 2 is seeking out your desired automatic weapon of choice and ensuring that it has the 3rd star legendary effect of 25% less AP costs while in VATS. Now there are really only 2 ways to get one of these things. You could get incredibly lucky with a drop from in-world or in-game or with the purveyor, or you could use one of the external trading websites like Reddit, Discord or Facebook to get your desired weapon. Now let me reiterate, this will absolutely not work as well as I'm showing you guys in the background footage if your weapon does not have the 3rd star legendary effect. That is a key component to this guide. The reason we also need it to be an automatic weapon is because automatic weapons come with a natural 50% reduction to AP usage by default. So with that automatic 50% AP reduction added onto our legendary effect, we so far have a total of 75% less AP usage. Just like that. But I know that we can bump that number up by choosing the correct weapon modifications. Also, just touching on that for a little bit, the way that these AP reduction values are actually calculated is multiplicatively now. They used to be additively, but now they are actually multiplicatively, which means they work a little bit differently. I'll go in depth on that later on at the end of the video. Just a heads up. Anyways, once you've found yourself your desired automatic weapon with less AP cost, it could be anything. It could be a God Roll Bloodied one with also 25% faster fire rate, or it could be an average weapon like Nocturnal with limb damage, for example. It's your choice of weapon, but just make sure it has that 3rd star prefix of 25% less action cost. Anyways, next step is to mosey on down to the weapon workbench where we will be applying the following mods to completely min-max for both damage output and less AP cost usage. I will be using the 10mm pistol, handmade rifle and fixer as an example in the future. Firstly, we will obviously be starting off with the receiver. We want to have ourselves an automatic one, which by default reduces the AP cost of each shot by 50%, as I already mentioned. And if you have the resources to spare, I recommend using the prime automatic receiver for all of these weapons for that little bit of extra stopping power and bonus damage towards scorched enemies. But the powerful automatic receiver is the next best thing if you can't spare the flux for the prime bullets. Like I said, so far we are at a 75% in AP reduction. Moving on to barrels, here we must always ensure that we have an aligned one. It can be short or long, just make sure that it has an aligned barrel modification. Although I do recommend the long version since that does increase our range and accuracy quite significantly. The aligned barrels will further reduce your AP cost by 5%. All up, so far that is an 80% in AP reduction. Next is the stock. This one has some wiggle room for you. Both the aligned stock and the forceful stock reduce your AP usage by 5%. So with that being said, you can choose either one. However, the forceful stock is the obvious choice here since it does increase our weapon's durability significantly, which is sorely needed considering the weapon degradation system in this game is so fucked up. So far this brings us up to a 85% reduction in AP usage. Next up is the magazine. This one is simple for VAT's usage efficiency. We'll want to pick up the quick magazine for another 5% reduction in AP usage, which does bring out our total so far up to a huge 90% reduction in AP usage. However, another viable option is the Swift magazine, as this one actually offers no change in any way to our AP usage, no negative or benefit in that respect, but it does slightly increase the amount of bullets in our magazine, which is nice to have. So there is a choice here. Either pick the quick for even more or less AP usage, or pick the Swift for more bullets in your magazine. Now they are both perfectly viable for this guide. Personally, I choose the Swift one because it's always nice to have those extra bullets in the magazine. But if you would like to purely go for less AP usage, then it's a no-brainer, go for the quick magazine. And finally we have the sights, and for here there is no better option than the reflex sight. It can be the circle or the dot, it does not matter. Just ensure that there is a reflex sight on your weapon, as this does further reduce your AP usage by 50%, which is miraculously so far totaling at 105%. Yep, that's right, minus 105 AP usage for our weapon with this setup. But wait, stop right there, it's not how it seems. I know what you're thinking, and no, reaching 105% less AP cost does not make you use absolutely zero AP. Nothing of the sort, in fact. At least not anymore. And what I mean by this is that the AP reduction system had a slight overhaul when the Wastelanders DLC got released a few months back. Because back then, with this setup, not only did it cost 0 action points to fire in VATS, it actually regenerated your AP every time you fired your weapon, because we had exceeded the 100% AP reduction value. But like I said, this system got a little overhaul after Wastelanders came out. Previously, before Wastelanders, the AP reduction system was purely additive, whereas now it is purely multiplicative. Kind of the opposite of the weapon damage change that just recently happened. Now this means that in actual practice, due to the way this system calculates AP reduction with it being purely multiplicative now, our 105% less AP usage is actually an 83%, and there's nothing we can do to change it, it just gets scaled down due to the calculation differences that the game automatically does. So, with everything said and done here, with all of the modifications correctly being applied, with the legendary effect and with it being automatic, you will get an 83% reduction in AP usage. So there you have it. If you have an automatic weapon with a legendary effect and all the correct weapon mods, you can achieve an 83% reduction in your AP cost usage. Let's test this out on a few of our weapons. Alright ladies and gentlemen, now we're going to be testing out some of our weapons, starting off with what I call the Boza. See, it has those perfect rolls and the less AP cost. It also has all of the modifications I was talking about earlier, including the quick magazine, just to demonstrate what this looks like with absolute peak performance with AP reduction. As we can see right here, there's a little glitch right now with PvP, so VATS doesn't actually hurt people, which makes testing this fantastic. As you can see, my AP usage is going down incredibly slowly. This is absolutely amazing, and what you're seeing right here translates to the real world with super mutants, scorch beast queens and all of that. It doesn't change. So we've gone through about, I'd say, 5 magazines at this point, and we've only used about half of our AP bar, which is just incredible. And then the good thing about this is, as soon as I hop out, it regenerates insanely fast. That is due to my AP refresh armor and perks. So there's that. And now we will switch to what I call this machine. It's the exact same weapon as before, except the bullets are explosive. Same modifications, except we have the Swift magazine instead of the quick one. This is just to show the slight difference between the two magazines, and also to show that the explosive bullets don't affect our AP usage. So let's get into it. Explosive bullets do, however, somehow hurt people in PvP, so hopefully Neo remembers to heal. But here we can see that the AP usage is more or less the exact same. The only difference here is between that slight 5% that we are missing out on from that quick magazine and swift magazine. As you can tell, it doesn't make a big difference in the grand scheme of things. Our AP usage is effectively the same, and we've used about the exact same amount of rounds, exact same amount of ammo, and we're about halfway, and then it just regenerates just as quickly. So yeah. And now moving on to a handmade rifle that I've renamed to the All-American. It's pretty fitting considering how it looks. It looks just like that Fallout New Vegas one. Anyway, here we have the exact same rolls as the first weapon we tested, and the exact same weapon modifications, except now we have the stinging magazine. This one actually increases the amount of AP we take when we shoot, so it's going to go down slightly quicker. So let's just show exactly what that looks like. Shoot off a few rounds here, and that's one magazine, and about roughly a third of our AP bar is gone, and that's all due to the Swift magazine, and that's all due to the magazine being the stinger, because that increases the amount of AP we use by 5%, which doesn't sound like much, but with the calculation system being the way it is, it actually works out to be a handicap. So yes, it is entirely worth it to have your weapon be either quick or swift. As you can see, the difference here is not minimal, it's actually quite substantial. Yeah, I just thought I'd show that off with this. So since the only differences between these two weapons right here is the magazine, that clearly shows the difference in use. Anyway, on to the next one. And here we are with a very similar weapon, the 10mm pistol with the less AP cost and all the correct mods except for the magazine. I decided to go with Swift because this weapon is really lacking in the ammo count for the magazine, so the difference isn't that bad like I've shown previously, so that's what I'll be using. And I'm showing this weapon because a lot of people are under the assumption that you can only achieve hyper optimization with VATS AP usage with rifles, and I'm just showing that this can happen with pistols as well. So here we go. And also huge shout out to Vampire Lord for finding this weapon for me. Thank you, mate. Let's get into it. Keep an eye on the AP usage, and it's bugger all. Look at that. 15 shots and all AP bar is just hardly being used. It's working like a dream. This is just these type of builds here that work really well with VATS, with these weapon modifications. It just works like a treat. Having this type of information to modify your build will make you so much more powerful. So as you can see there, completely just gotten rid of our AP, and it's back already, not 3 seconds later. And we're ready to go again. Just like that. So all of that I just previously showed is the power of having the correct weapon modifications on if your weapon does have that less AP VATS action point cost legendary effect. Like I said, this stuff only works if it's automatic with that legendary effect, with roughly the modifications that I said previously. There is some wiggle room with the grip and the magazine, but the rest needs to be as I stated. And just so I don't get these comments in the comment section, no, this does not work with any shotguns that can be automatic. No, it doesn't work with automatic heavy weapons like the LMG, Gatling laser, etc. It just doesn't work with that. However, you can achieve slightly less AP usage, but it is nowhere near as effective as I've shown here with the automatic pistols and automatic rifles. There's just no comparison there. Stuff like that with the heavy weapons and shotguns and single fire rifles even, it's not as good on the AP usage. So yeah. Well, that's it, legends. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you all...
Hey fellow Volvers, it's Angry Turtle, and I finally sit down to make the most requested, just recently most requested video, AP and AP regeneration. Just to start, for the baseline, my AP at this moment is 250, my special, it's 19 agility. About my perks, there is nothing giving AP regeneration. At the same moment, I'm not wearing any armor pieces, just outfit, backpack. Then I have 0 bonus AP regeneration, even including there is no bonuses from food or drinks. There is nothing that gives me my AP regeneration. There is only bonus agility from bird bones, basically my standard mutations that I'm running here. And let's start with setting some baseline. I will check how long it will take for my AP to regenerate. First I need to drop my AP and we will see how long it will take. Yeah, almost exactly at 0 this time around. Let's see how long it will take to regenerate my AP bar. Okay, it's over 22 seconds. Okay, now let's see how changing my total AP will affect AP regeneration. To do so, I will just equip some armor pieces like shielded leathers that give me extra agility, what in effect boosts my AP, and I will equip like 2 armor pieces with ultra light and unyielding, what means that I will have even more of the agility. This one is +1 agility as well. Then it will be a hefty change into my agility, into my special, and now my agility is 27. And let's see how this will affect it. Okay, I'll manage to get it down to like 0 AP, and now let's see how long it will take for my AP bar to regenerate. It's about the same. Over 22 seconds, a little bit less than 23 seconds. Let's say 23 seconds to normalize it a little bit. And my AP is higher. I regenerated 335 AP in 23 seconds. And before it was 250 AP in 23 seconds. What means that increasing your AP will increase your AP regeneration in practical matter, because the percentage of AP regeneration and how fast the bar is filling up remains the same, but amount of AP I'm regenerating in the same time goes up significantly. Let's see if just to be sure, when I equip all my unyielding pieces, all of those pieces are without any AP regeneration. If you see, there is no AP regeneration, and at this moment my AP total is 470. Let's see if we will have around 23 seconds again. Just make sure that I will not go into thirsty mode, that will drop my AP. So 470 AP. Let's see how much time it will take. 23 seconds again, but this time I regenerated 470 AP. Then it's looked that AP regeneration is based on the percentage of the AP bar, not based on the AP, like on the overall AP pool, because if this will be based on overall AP pool, then it should take longer and longer to regenerate as my AP pool is going up. But as it's percent based, then it's still 23 seconds as a baseline. Now, what everyone was asking me, is it possible to stack in this legendary effect, increases action point refresh speed, and if there is a limit into stacking it? Let me unequip my unyielding, because it doesn't come with any AP regeneration. Unfortunately, with AP regen I have only 2 pieces, and we will go into them later. First, we will try some pieces without this effect. And let's go into the testing 1 piece of AP refresh speed. And we almost cut it down by half. Well, I'm really surprised how effective 1 piece is, from 23 seconds to 12 seconds. Hey, that's pretty significant. Now let's see what will happen if I add another piece with action point refresh speed. 2 pieces at this moment. Down down to 9 seconds. It's quite a hefty improvement, not cut by half again, but still a lot faster. Now let's see with 3 pieces. And here we go with 3 pieces. It's about 7 seconds. Still improving, but you can clearly see this is a kind of diminishing return. The first piece was like cut by half, and now it's still cutting a little bit, but less and less. Let's try 4 pieces. And with 4 pieces we have time 6 seconds. It's improving and it's crazy fast, and keep in mind that after I finish shooting and I start measuring the time, I will show you now in this attempt with all the pieces, the AP bar is not regenerating instantly. Let's see, it's how I'm doing it all the time just to achieve 0 AP. I will drop the full mark.
Talking about legacies is a taboo for Bethesda, and expeditions are now a new way of griefing others. There's also a few dev reveals about the pit. It's news time. Hello everyone, welcome back to another Fallout 76 video. I have returned with yet a lot to report, such as confirmation on how Bethesda openly avoids legacy item discussions in 76. Now Expeditions is being used as a tool to grieve and deny rewards to other players, and the auto-X is working inconsistently. It's kind of bugged actually. In this round, I will also show you some interesting The Pit revelations by developers and go over the latest issues in Appalachia, such as a server downtime, friends list not working again, and even NPCs roaming around as if they grew tired of their fixed location quote. A peculiar one, I must add. There's even a strange data mined asset. Alright, it's time to dive into the details. Let's do this. Have you ever wondered why Bethesda rarely answers or talks about legacy items and the problem legacy weapons pose in 76? I know developer Hadri Skills has addressed the matter a few times in the past to inform players the matter is being, quote, looked into and a solution is under development. But honestly speaking, he was one of the very few who publicly talked about legacy weapons until today. And there is a reason why Bethesda vividly avoids the topic, and that's because Bethesda staff is instructed to not discuss the matter. And no, this is not speculation. I spotted this conversation a few days ago on Bethesda's official Discord server, where the staff member Metabolic Argonian confirmed they don't talk about legacy items, as it typically leads to negative discussions. I wonder why. Probably because the items Anyway, remarks aside, this talk ended with the staff member redirecting the user.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, it's up to you. But I can make something too. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I think you should pick. No. Okay, 7:30. That's good. Thank you. All right, love it. Bye. I need chests, which means climbing this thing. Sometimes it looks so good like this, and oh, and then you get cool effects like that. all these lap moths all over the place. That's interesting. go turn in. I'm gonna ding, I think. So I am looking for, yeah, right home, which should be, yes, would you mind if I ran to the store? Creek water, which Creek water, yeah, alright. 2 stacks of webs, 2 stacks of pauldrons. Not bad. This is a pretty good turnaround.
User to Bethesda support, where anyone can freely submit feedback on whatever matter they see fit. Moreover, a few years ago, I remember seeing a community manager making the same claim through a private channel, that they are not supposed to talk about legacy weapons. So this is another hint, a very clear one, on Bethesda's internal rules of conduct. All in all, staff members should simply ignore the topic, no matter what players say and no matter how ugly things get, like some updates ago, where legacies became even more powerful and nobody really knew why. Moral of the story, legacy items and weapons are like a taboo, forbidden to discuss, and they cannot be addressed through official Bethesda channels, apparently. So best to take the discussion elsewhere, like Reddit, Twitter, Facebook, and other third-party public channels. Lastly, if you are wondering why Bethesda is so strictly avoidant about this, I can give you a few ideas. First, complexity. The legacy matter is not simple at all. It branches out to many other topics, such as duping, hacking, spawning, and cheating overall, which are forbidden matters in Bethesda's official channels. It's even in the rules. And here's a recent quote even from another staff member to confirm what I'm saying. Secondly, legacy weapons pose an undeniable imbalance in the combat system. No other type of weapon can come any close to match the damage legacies can do on their own. And third, fixing legacy weapons is extremely difficult, if possible at all. Otherwise, Bethesda would have patched them over these past 4 years. Don't you think so? Well, there you go. That's why the topic is a taboo, and silence is chosen over communication or any sort of action, really. The pit expeditions came live with a lot of leader perks, but what Bethesda probably didn't consider at first when they were developing the system is that such perks could easily be used the wrong way by players with malicious or troll intentions. And here we are now. In the past days, I have seen quite a few reports on how griefers are now using expeditions to annoy other players. How, you may ask? Well, there are several ways, like leaders going AFK or wasting time on purpose, but the most popular griefing ways are through kicking teammates or simply quitting the expedition as a leader right after the last objective is completed, which ultimately denies rewards to everyone else but the leader. The good news is that Bethesda seems to be aware of the problem already, so a fix or change could be on the way. In fact, Quest Design Coral even made sure to send a note to the rest of the developer team so they can look into the matter in detail. As for the time being, I recommend doing expeditions with friends as much as possible to avoid getting griefed by randoms. Starting your own expedition in public servers and letting others join is also a great option as you have full control over your run. The last option is to solo if you want or can, but in my view, that's too much of a hassle and a waste of resources. But these are basically the 3 options you have on the table right now to avoid getting trolled or griefed. Now it's story time. 76 servers were down again, but you might have not noticed because it was handled very discreetly. Anyway, on September 21 and 22 to me by Amphi, and later on I spotted several posts on Reddit and I decided to test. I was really curious. And yes, the auto axe seems to be bugged, but not exactly on a bad way. Well, it actually depends on what game mode you play, I suppose, because your damage output with the auto axe seems to depend on your game mode exactly. No joke. Why would a view game mode affect a weapon's performance? I have no single idea, but it's how it works. Look at this. In third-person mode, my damage is not that impressive, right? Then with the same exact build, gear, weapon, everything. But using first-person mode, the damage like duplicates, if not more. It's quite crazy. The funny part is that the damage numbers are similar, however the HP bars tell us something very different, doesn't it? First-person mode enables way more auto-axe damage, and some players argue that's because you can easily hit critical points like the chest or head in this mode, while in third-person mode you are likely to hit them less frequently because limbs are on the way. I mean, it's a theory, yes, it could be possible, yes, but I'm not so sure it's what's happening here. I suspect there's something else, some sort of mechanical bug going on, but I'm not sure exactly or how the details work really. Well, at least now you know, if the Auto Axe is your new favorite weapon, you might want to play in first person mode to take advantage of the extra free damage. Alright, still on the pit, I have a few special revelations to share with you, starting with the Fanatics faction and their origins. Earlier this month, Quest Design Coral posted something rather interesting about how Bethesda came up with the Fanatics concept. He quoted two other devs who worked on the new Fanatic faction. I talked about how atmospheric filters were a bit messed up, but apparently the issue is a bit deeper than that. I found out this Reddit post where the user states 76 is suffering from a no shadow and lighting problems. Well then, that certainly could explain why the pit suddenly turned dark and bland like this, because shadows are sort of missing. Anyway, the same user posted some screenshots as evidence of this new issue, and damn, he had it way...
Gold. Oh, gold no bed. Great, lovely. Right, let me give you some money then. Holder, I hate you. 9 gold. I was 1 gold short and you wouldn't give me a bed. Fine, have this bottle of wine. You're a scam artist. So our bed is lovingly positioned up here and, oh dear, I'm accidentally stuck. Okay. Fantastic, Todd. You almost killed me there. That could have been the run over. There we go. Here is our lovely bed for tonight. Right, I definitely need some more healing potions. So, where's Arcadia? Where are you? You're just talking at me. Arcadia, look, I need you here so I can buy ingredients from you. I need more healing potions. So that means I need to do more trading with you. Right, there we go. Some meals made. We're in a bit more of a refreshed state. I have health potions. It's day 3. I think I am brave enough to potentially go and fight that thing in the dungeon. Now, potentially there's a skeleton literally right here. Potentially there's a skeleton that's further away. This is a monster that literally no one should fear fighting. However, I fear this monster. We need a heal spell ready in one hand, a damage spell ready in the other. Let's go fight a monster. Right, skeleton, are you here? Nope, skeleton is not here. Neither is man who gave quest. Please tell me man who gave quest is not dead. Is he resting? Where is the man who gave quest? Oh no. Okay, well potentially the skeleton we let in here has killed him, but if that's the case, that's fine. Let's go recover that amulet of Arcade. Oh, he's right there. Oh, jeez, you angry boy. Right, Skelly, sizzle. Sizzle. There we go. Oh my goodness, we got him. Yes, Janessa, you are so worth the money. Right, let's steal their loot. Loot stolen. I can hear. There's another skeleton. Janessa, you know what to do. Yes, Janessa. Look, we are the best adventuring combo. And by that I mean you do all the work and I just sit here and do basically no damage. I can definitely hear another skeleton here. Yep, there's a skeleton right here. Oh my goodness, he's got a great sword. Okay, Janessa, that one's definitely more on you. Cool, he's dead. Right, we'll steal that anyway. Any good loot? Oh, there's something here. Block skill increase. Fantastic, that's good. And, oh, a virulent poison. Right, that's where the poison's from. Okay. So I went into this dungeon. I found his lovely amulet. Now, I mean, we could wear it. However, we can't because this technically counts as an item that is too powerful for us to have and it would give us 10 points of health. I mean, I suppose we could maybe sell it, but no. I mean, we went in there. We had to fight like 4 skeletons that could almost one.
Okay, guys, I'm going to take a break until past dinner time here for about 2 hours. You know, kind of a slow Wednesday and stuff, and I'm not going to push it, and I feel like lying down, so I'm gonna. So, I love you guys. Thank you for the support and stuff, and I'll be back to play some more games here in a couple.